Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Self-Love 101 with Crystal Bell. Thank you for joining me again on my YouTube channel. I'm happy to see you. As you all know, this week the theme is listening to your intuition. So we are about to get into the meat of what is intuition, why is it important, and how is intuition directly tied to fear. So before we start talking about intuition, I want all of you, if you have not already, to hit the subscribe button below and subscribe to my channel. Also follow me on Facebook at Self-Love Life 101 and on Instagram at Self-Love Life 101. Please do that now. Check out my blog, which is in the description box below, where I expand more on these themes via writing about different themes tied to intuition, fear, living your best life, etc. So I want to start talking about intuition with a definition. So our intuition is basically a spiritual feeling that we have inside of us that's tied to a kind of psychic element of the knowing and the unknowing, the subconscious and the conscious, the implicit and the explicit. Sometimes when our intuition is speaking to us, it can be through a bodily reaction, right? So like sometimes maybe you just start getting a headache for no reason, right? And sometimes we think, oh, I'm just tired or whatever. But sometimes it can really be tied to stress or something that's bothering you that you may be ignoring. So listening to our bodies is the first thing to do when we think about intuition, and realizing that it's something that's intrinsically within us and it's spiritual in nature. Regardless of what you believe in, it's something that your body has a physical reaction to. Another kind of connection to intuition is our thoughts. So our thoughts can really determine how we see things, how we understand things. And so that's why it's really important to try to think about, why do we have the thoughts we have and what are they tied to? Are they tied to fears? Are they tied to things that we do not understand? And if we don't understand something, what do we try to do? Some people are natural problem solvers where they are going to investigate what's going on. Sometimes it's going to Google, sometimes it's reading a book. Other people, draw conclusions or make assumptions. Whatever it is, all of these things are tied to our intuition and what's really deep inside of us that is kind of a microcosm of our life experiences. So one of the great Black feminist thinkers, Audrey Lorde, has a famous quote that goes like this: "I am deliberate and afraid of nothing." One of my favorite quotes, not because I always feel fearless, but because it reminds me of how fear can be a form of paralysis. So fear literally takes over your entire body, right? For example, if you are a woman and you're walking on a dark street and you see a male figure behind you that you aren't familiar with, most people would be very afraid, right? And so sometimes when that fear takes over you, you can literally feel stuck in motion as if you can't move. And that applies to everything in life. The ways that fear can literally paralyze us. And so thinking of this quote is really important for me in my own life. It's actually my email signature for that reason. It's been my email signature for like 12 years because it reminds me of the power of fear, and it also allows me to continuously push against fear in my own life and trusting my intuition when those fears seep in. So the thing that I want to do today for this lesson is to share a few tips for listening to your intuition. Some people say, well, how do I do that? I don't even know where to start. So the first thing that you need to do is to start meditating. And meditating is this really big and sometimes overwhelming word where you just feel like you see people sitting in the forest, looking out into space in this really intense moment of silence. And some people do meditate that way. But you also need to know that you can meditate daily for 5 minutes. And one of the main purposes of meditation is to center your thoughts, to center yourself, but more importantly, to make time for uninterrupted silence. So that's the first way to listen to your intuition. You want to have moments of uninterrupted silence where you actively think about ways to center your life and to focus on the things you want to be better at, the things you want to change, the things you want to continue to improve upon. The second thing is to be mindful of your surroundings and the individuals that you surround yourself with. if you're trying to live a positive life, or if you're trying to grow in a particular area, you are going to need to surround yourself with people who support you on that mission. It is much harder to do something positive if you are surrounded by things that are negative, right? And that may be very simple, but as simple as it sounds, it can be very tricky depending on the different situations we navigate on a daily basis. So keep that in mind. The next thing that you need to do is think about, are you feeling anxious? And so anxiety, if you're anxious all the time, if you're always on edge, it's going to be really hard to listen to your intuition, primarily because our intuition comes to us when we sit in a meditative silence. And so the Christian philosophy is to be still, right? And so this idea of being still is that you're listening to God. Even if you're not a Christian, if you're a Buddhist, meditation is a huge part of Buddhism. Whatever it is that you believe in, or even if you're an atheist, right? This idea of listening to the different silences and pauses in our life really gives us time to reflect and to think a little bit deeply. The next thing you should do is exercise, right? And so your exercise doesn't have to be this intense workout, weight training, strength training. It could just be taking a walk, right, for 20 minutes, or it can be doing some yoga poses for 15 minutes. Whatever it is that's comfortable for you. Some people like to run marathons. I know I have a lot of friends who are intensely into marathon running. Whatever it is, make time to exercise. And I say that because I know for me, I don't get much time to exercise as much as I used to because I have 2 young children and my schedule is always a little bit hard to navigate. However, I find that when I do make time to exercise, it allows me to have that silence and that meditative moment. So make time to exercise. That's really important. The last thing to realize is that you are not always in control. And if you're a really A-like personality where, you just are like boom, 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 and, you just want everything done your way, I'm kind of similar in that way. You have to know that there are things that are outside of your control. And once you can begin to let go of some of that, then you will be really able to listen and hear what the silences are telling you about different life choices that you need to make, which is directly tied to listening to your intuition. So I want to remind us of this Audrey Lorde quote again. I am deliberate and afraid of nothing. So a final wrap up for today, listening to your intuition and for projecting for the next time we meet, which will be in the new year, is don't be afraid to start over. If you've made a mistake on something, if you have a workout plan that hasn't been working out, or if you said you were going to do more of something in this particular year and you didn't do more of it, for me, it was eating more vegetables. I failed miserably at that. And now I look at my children, they don't like vegetables, and I feel a lot of guilt around that. I didn't grow up eating vegetables, so I'm really pushing myself to eat more vegetables because I know that the research shows that people who eat a lot of vegetables tend to live longer. So I would like to live a long and healthy life. Our theme for the next time we come together, which will be in the new year, is looking in the mirror. Who do I see when I look in the mirror, and what is that tied to? And so one thing that I really want to point out is when I say look in the mirror, I don't just mean the physical self, right? That's part of it, but it's also the mental self, the holistic self, the spiritual self. Who do we see when we look in the mirror, and how is that tied to societal conceptions of what's perfect, what's not perfect, what's healthy, what's unhealthy, especially in an age of social media, which I talked about in the second video, which reminds us that there's a constant competition to be perfect, to be this, to be that. There's a constant turning on or always being on and attached to our technology. How can we let some of that things go so that we can hear some of the silences and the pauses in our life? So again, the theme for next time is looking in the mirror, and I want you guys to think deeply about it. Don't forget to rate, comment, and subscribe and share. Follow me on Instagram, Self Love Life 101, Facebook, Self Love Life 101, and read my blog, which is in the description box below. Thank you. Bye.